Sometimes we can get the impression that what happened with those 40 days in the wilderness, being tired and hungry and then being tempted or tested by the devil, was that Jesus saw off the devil once and for all, saw off testing and temptation, and that was his only experience. 40 days and then 3 temptations, and that was it done. If that had been the case, then Jesus' life as a human being would not have been complete and would not have been like ours is. So we wanted to look this week at some examples of Jesus being tested in other situations and circumstances, and not necessarily by the enemy. In fact, sometimes we give the devil way too much credit for the mess that we can make by our own decisions, by our own inner thoughts, and by other people, even sometimes with the best of intentions, sending us off in the wrong direction. So we come to a strange place to do that first, a place called Caesarea Philippi. You can see on the map that it's some way north of the Lake Galilee setting where Jesus spends most of his ministry. It's far enough away for it to be way outside of the comfort zone of his disciples and of Jesus himself, because it's not dominated by Judaism. This place is dominated by Greek and Roman culture and their religion. The modern day cave that you can see in the picture was believed by the Greeks and the Romans to lead to a back passage down to Hades, or the underworld, or we might sometimes translate it as hell, but my understanding is it's more the equivalent of us talking about 6 feet under. It was a powerful place in terms of religious systems that were so different from what Jesus and his disciples believed and what we would believe now in terms of what we mean even by the word God, because the Greeks and the Romans worshipped many, many gods, and they weren't good necessarily. They fought each other and they didn't have our best interests at heart. This is maybe what it looked like in Jesus' day, with this massive temple to Pan in the foreground, and behind it the cave. This wasn't a place where you thought as a Jewish person you would ever find or seek God. It's a place to flee from and go back to the temple and find him there. But in this place, an amazing thing happens. The question arises again: who is Jesus? What is his identity? The same question that the devil tries to question, the same question that's answered when Jesus is baptized. He's the Son of God. And so Jesus asks his disciples, while he's standing in this place with this view, who do people say the Son of Man is? Jesus is now referring to himself in the third person. You get used to that in these moments. And they say, well, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, others say Jeremiah or one of the prophets. They're saying he is kind of a reincarnation of a great Old Testament historical figure come with an amazing message for God's people. But what about you? Jesus says, you've had the inside track, you've had the most understanding, you've seen the most of me. Who do you say I am? And Simon Peter answered with this amazing statement: you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And Jesus' heart must have leapt. Yay, he's got it. He said, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. He's had a personal revelation from the Father that Jesus is always talking to them about the fact that he talks to his Father in heaven all the time. And I tell you, Peter, on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. It's an amazing moment. The Father has revealed to Simon Peter who Jesus' identity truly is. It's really clear. He's the Messiah, he is the Son of God. And in a place where you might have just talked about references to hell and Hades, at that point Jesus says, I will build the church on you as the rock, the ground force, the initiator. And you see so much of that when you read the book of Acts. It's amazing. It would be brilliant if the story ended there, but it doesn't. And this is what I want to focus on. At that point, Jesus now starts talking about what is going to happen to him in order to bring the kingdom of God into its fullness. He starts talking about the fact he's going to go to Jerusalem, that he's going to suffer at the hands of the chief priests and the elders. And then he says, I'm going to be killed and I'm going to rise again on the third day. And Peter, who has only just got it so right, shows that he just doesn't understand. He says, taking Jesus aside to have a private conversation, one of those, I need to get this out and help you to understand. He says, never, Lord, this shall never happen to you. And there is the test, the temptation, for Jesus to go ahead and bring the kingdom in through a means other than fulfilling all those prophecies of prophets like Isaiah, that he's going to be a suffering servant, that the Messiah is going to remain silent while the world does terrible things to him, and the way he's going to die for the sins of everyone. Now, the word used for what Peter does to Jesus is, he says, he rebukes him. Strong words, big moment, not a throwaway comment. This is Peter saying this must not happen, because Peter can only appear to see earthly forms of kingdoms and not understand what Jesus has really come to do. Jesus turned and said to Peter exactly what he said to the third temptation when the devil was tempting him. He says, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns." He has to say to his closest disciple, close friend, person who he's going to hand on the mantle to once the day of Pentecost has happened and Peter is going to lead the early church, he has to say, "Get behind me, Satan. I cannot listen to what you say right now, because it would test me to take a different path from the one that I know I must take." Interestingly, this is the context also for the thing that Jesus commands us all to do next. It says that if anybody wants to follow him, they must deny himself, pick up their cross, and carry it, following him. He makes the cross into a painful and yet beautiful and essential thing. But in this moment, just hear the understanding that even Jesus has to say to somebody with his best interests at heart, trying to do the right thing, "Get behind me, I cannot listen to you, because I know that you are distracting me from the path that God has set very, very clearly for me." And that is sometimes the test that's most difficult to overcome.